Because I've been sprouting my anemones for cut flowers to paint early in the late spring, early summer, I was sort of a little bit impatient and excited to get going. So I found this Renoir painting of anemones and I decided to do a master copy of it. So this is it. I'm definitely not going to talk all the way through this video, but I just wanted to give a few tips on painting, what I've learnt so far really from oil painting. And although I've been an artist on and off, since I could pick up a pencil really. I mean, I remember drawing characters from the Beano, Whizzer and Chips, all those annual cartoon hardback books that we used to get for as Christmas books. And I used to draw the characters out of them. And then I sort of started doing Disney characters, Bambi, Thumper, those sort of characters. And then I started, onto the Judge Dredd. You remember those? I don't know if any of you remember those, but a little bit more sophisticated, the sort of fantasy art stuff. And then for a long time I stopped drawing because I went to uni. But then I began picking it up again and trying to illustrate scenes that I saw in my head from my books. When I was writing stories, it just really helped me to be able to kind of draw a picture of what I was seeing for a scene. I guess maybe I should have done like movie script, like the boards, the storyboards. I guess I was kind of trying to do that without realizing that's what I was doing. But then I worked and I was working hard, and then I had children, and it all, just became a little bit more difficult to put sort of consistent effort into the drawing and actually the writing. So then I picked it back up again later, and I began oil painting. I'd always wanted to do oil painting, and of course then I realized there's this huge resource which is YouTube. And so I was able to cut some corners, I guess, with knowing about the products and buying the supplies and things like that, which I guess I was most daunted by. And so I've been painting now with oils for probably about 3 years. And there's a few things I've learned about the technique and things that have held me back and things that have really helped move me forward. Things that have helped me move forward are watching YouTube videos or like reading articles about the supplies. But I think watching the YouTube videos is more helpful because you can actually see them being used and in progress. And I just think that was really helpful knowing how to use them. However, I did go through a lot of products that I didn't need, especially mediums. People talk a lot about mediums and you could spend a fortune on them. And I found that at the end of the day, all I use is oil, um, like a refined linseed oil or something like that, that's for artists, obviously artists oil. And that is now all I use as a medium, or, to clean my brushes, to thin paint, or obviously use less if you want thicker paint as you go through the stages of the painting. And that's really how simple I keep it. I think with a lot of industries, like gardening, which is one I also do, cooking is another one, and art, people, some of the so-called professionals, the masters, they do like to overcomplicate it so that they can seem like they're the only resource that you can come to for help. And I feel like that's a bit of a mean thing to say, but I do think it is true that some people, teachers, want to feel like they own the subject, and so they overcomplicate it. If you're a beginner, you really don't want to be spending a lot of money on products you might never use again. So you don't need to do that. Just get yourself the oil paints, and I use Winsor & Newton, and I'll put the link to my Amazon shop with the products that I use below. And just the linseed oil, refined linseed, poppy oil, some people use walnut oil. And then as you grow in confidence and you kind of know what style you're going for and what suits you, then maybe you'll want to experiment with mediums and all sorts of other adding body and brushes and things like that, because then you'll kind of know more what your style is and what effects you're trying to achieve, and therefore you'll be able to tailor your purchases towards that end, which will ultimately save you money. And during that time, when you've been learning with your basic oils and your linseed oil, you'll probably have been doing some research and how to get the effects that you want. So you will know already probably which materials you want to invest in next. The other thing I find a little bit silly is this whole kind of painting your boards and putting primer on your boards. You can do that, of course, but really, I think you don't want to have too many obstructions to just getting started. And if that means picking up a white cheap canvas from Poundland, putting it on a desktop and painting, then do it. I have such a busy life, with children, dog walking, pets. I run a house, I have a job, I run a business. If I had to prime and fuss about every painting before I got started, cleaning my brushes every time, I just would never get started. I mean, I really wouldn't. It would just be such a mountain to climb. I need to be able to just go for it and have everything ready and to just get started and go for it. And if that means painting on a white canvas, then so be it. And I mentioned the brushes, and that's another important factor. I don't clean my brushes in between paintings. And what I mean by that is I don't, go through them all, clean them all with a linseed oil, and then go and put them in these stylish pots like all these artists have all over their desks, all these beautiful vintage vases and everything stuffed full of immaculate brushes. No, I don't do that. I keep a jar of linseed oil with about a third to a half full, and I just dunk my brushes in there, and that way they stay soft, ready for me to paint it again, which will most likely be the very next day. I really have not got time to spend hours every day fussing around, wiping brushes with rags and bringing them back to new before I start another painting again. That does not happen in reality. What happens is I put them in the linseed oil, not the one that I'm using to paint with. So I have another small jar with cleaner linseed oil in it for actually painting the picture, but I keep my used brushes in a jar that I can then, they'll be nice and soft, and then I can then clean them off as I need to use them on my painting the next day. My other final tip for this video is that I recommend not copying. The trouble with watching YouTube videos is every new artist you watch, you want to paint like them, because obviously most people who put videos on YouTube are pretty good and pretty competent artists. And I've gone from doing realism to quite abstract, sloppy painting, and really none of it suited me. So I definitely suit this kind of style. I like sort of drawing with my brush first, and then having quite energetic brush strokes that build up the sort of depth and the vigor and the layers of the paint until you get quite a thick layer of paint at the end. And I'm still really finding my style. I do like this kind of style, this impressionistic style. But I've definitely had to stop watching too many YouTube videos once I got to a certain stage, because I found that it was actually just making my paintings worse, because what I was doing was adopting all these different styles, and I was just making a mess of it. And I found at one point that my paintings that I painted before I'd watched any YouTube videos were better than the ones that I'd been watching as I'd been going along, and I thought I was getting more experience, and I was actually getting worse. I think my last tip would be, don't be a perfectionist. It's really hard if you're an artist to not be a perfectionist. But honestly, I was the same with my cooking. I used to just ruin my enjoyment of doing tasks such as cooking and painting, because I used to get so wrapped up in perfection and making everything perfect that I forgot about just creating a nice time, say for instance for my family when I was cooking. Or I mean, I didn't get like that over beans on toast, but if I was cooking something, that I felt was pretty spectacular, I could really ruin the experience for myself by getting too uptight. And I've had to really, really focus hard on relaxing even with these paintings now, I can get really uptight, and I have to just stop myself. And actually posting them on YouTube really helps me to stop getting so uptight, because when I look back when I'm editing, it really makes me look at the painting in a different way, and I can see the errors that I made, and I can see, you know, things that I can improve. So I can go back on the painting. So sometimes when you see a YouTube video, you don't necessarily see the finished painting, because as I'm editing it, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I missed that, or I didn't do that, or that's not dark enough, and so on. And that happens. So that in itself makes me really review the paintings much more objectively, rather than getting all uptight because I just can't work out when I'm on top of it what I'm doing wrong, why it's not quite going the way I want it to. So a little bit of space and time and looking at it from another eye view then stops me getting uptight, because then I can see the solution. It's when you can't see the solution that you get uptight, but also sometimes you can't see that something's, you know, really nice. Like when I've cooked food before and it's been delicious, and I've worked myself up into such an idea of how I wanted it to be compared to how it is, that I actually forget that it's still really delicious and everybody enjoys it, and I shouldn't, you know, do that. I need to just take some space and stop making everything so perfect. Or, well, I don't. I mean, I just try. I used to. I'm much more relaxed and phlegmatic as I've got older. I'll leave the rest of this video to play out, and I'm sorry it seems so bleached because I just haven't got the lighting right. I don't quite know where to put the lights to stop them shining or bleaching out the painting so that you can't see it properly. I will work on that. Each painting hopefully will be better than the next, but you know, just be a bit more, be a bit forgiving of that. I still don't know what I'm doing on that score. And you know, I've realised I'm actually going to go back over this painting, so I might do an update video on this painting, because I have just come to see so many problems with the value range in this painting. Brings me on to a final tip actually. Don't assume that when you've finished a painting that you've actually finished the painting. Sometimes you do need that space and time to really look at it with a critical eye, and I am doing that right now watching this, and it isn't helped by the bleaching out of the lights, with the lights behind it on top of it. But I had a quick look at the final painting, which I've put to dry in the dining room, and I have decided that it's not finished. So I am going to do more. So I think I'm going to do a part 2 video on this. So look out for that, because I think that will be a good exercise, is to show you how to take the painting that you thought was finished enough to do a YouTube about it, and then, you know, actually finish it. So I guess that's what I'm going to be doing. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you got something out of it anyway. Alright, so I'm going to leave the rest of this video to play out to some music now. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from just even watching. I know I did. Yeah, and I will see you again in the next video. And I've got a Monet Dahlias master copy coming next, so look out for that. I really enjoyed that, and I painted that on more or less free wood, which I bought from my home store, and all it required, it was just offcuts, and all it required was a donation in the charity box. So that's what I did, and I ended up bringing home an absolute ton of offcuts, and I painted on it, and I really liked painting on it. And again, I didn't prime it, I just got stuck in, and I actually really liked the result. So subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can get notified when I post that one, which is going to be soon. Okay, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Bye.